All right, so we are on our last two sections of Unit 4. Told you this was going to go quick, which is adding and subtracting decimals and then multiplying and dividing decimals. So first thing with adding and subtracting, all you need to remember is line up your decimal point. You can do that. That's all you got to have. Okay? Line up the decimal point. Oops. Let me try that again. Line up the decimal point. Okay? So let's do an example. So let's say we're adding. And the easiest way to do this is actually give yourself kind of a grid. Okay? So with your decimal point in the middle and then a space for everything to the right and to the left. So if you look at an accounting grid, if you're ever an accountant someday, this is exactly what it will look like. So for example, this would be 35.43, and this one would be 121.9. And of course I can add zeros to the right. It doesn't change the value of my number at all. And then I add just straight down the rows. So once you actually line them up, just put your decimal down below, and now you can ignore it from that point on. So 3 plus 0 is 3, 4 plus 9 is 13, put that 1 over there. 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 3 plus 2 is 5, and 1. Okay, so your answer is 157.33. Same thing with subtraction. Okay, so that you want to make sure that your decimals line up. Okay, and that you've got kind of a grid to follow. Makes it easier. Okay, so we've got 74.2, oops, take that back, 0.28 minus 9.516. Now what I want you to do is, if your top number is shorter than your bottom number, is just add that 0 in there, because that's going to make it easier when you are subtracting. So now, of course, I need to borrow a 1 there, so I'm going to change that to a 7. 10 minus 6 is 4. 7 minus 1 is 6. I need to borrow again because I can't take 5 away from 2. So 12 minus 7 is, 12 minus 5 is 7. Put your decimal in there. I can't take 9 away from 3, so I've got to borrow 1 again. That changes to a 6. 13 minus 9 is 4, and 6 minus nothing is 6. So my answer would be 64.764. Remember, you can always add decimals out to the right, zeros out to the right as far as you need to. And it makes it much easier when you're adding and subtracting to do that. Okay? So that's adding and subtracting. Super easy. Multiplying and dividing, almost as easy. So what I want you to do when you are multiplying decimals is actually ignore those decimal spaces temporarily. Okay? So here you've got, and when I say that, I mean these decimal points that are, these numbers that are to the right of the decimal point. So when you first multiply them, actually ignore them. And all you're going to do is multiply 353 times 41, which of course you can do. You've been doing this kind of math forever. Put 1 down there, 12, 21, that'll be 14, and add them up. So 3, 7, 4, 4, 1. And now what I want you to do is count how many decimal spaces you have to the right. Okay? How many numbers you have to the right of the decimal. In this case, you have 2. So you're going to take that number, 1, 4, 4, 7, 3. Currently, the decimal is right here at the end. But because you have those 2 decimal spaces, it means you're actually making this, in this case, 100 times smaller. Every decimal space to the right, to the right shows a number that is 10 times smaller. So that means we have to drag that decimal space back in 2. Okay? So my answer will be 144.73. Easy. Okay? So don't deal with the decimals until the end. With division, I would tell you exactly the opposite. I want you to think about this number. So divide 902 divided by 0.11. If I were to write that as a fraction, which I know you're thinking, Miss V, why are you writing decimals as fractions? You tell us not to do that, but I'm going to show you something that's going to kind of make sense to you. So if I write that as a fraction, divided by 0.11. Well, if I want to make an equivalent fraction, and that's why I'm going to use fractions, because you guys are really good at equivalent fractions now. And I wanted to make this decimal point scooch over here, okay? That means I'm moving my decimal place to the right 2 spaces, which means that I am multiplying by 100. Okay, so that's going to equal 90200, 90,200 divided by, now I just have straight 11. Once I do that, now I have, you notice I have no decimals left, right? So even if you want to put it back into the algorithm of long division, which you know how I feel about long division, you can do that now by doing 11 into 90,200, or you can use our method of just actually solving that as a fraction, which would be 90,200 divided by 11. So let's do both ways. So first things first, let me scooch that back over. So 11 goes into 98 times. That gives you 88. Subtract, you get 2. Bring that 2 down. And 11 goes into 22 twice. 11 times 2 is 22. I don't have anything left over. And now I can get my answer of 8,200. Same thing over here. We can do that the same way. And actually, let me rewrite that because that did not come out well. So 90,200 divided by 11. Because now since I took care of that decimal, I multiplied everything by 100. I don't have a decimal anymore now, so it makes that a lot easier. So I'm going to say, does 11 go into 9? Well, it doesn't. Does 11 go into 90? It does. And it goes into 98 times, which is 88, which means I have 2 left over. 11 goes into 22 twice with none left over. 11 doesn't go into 0. And it doesn't go into this 0 either. So I still get the same answer. So just when you're dealing with decimals, make them do what you need them to do. Remember, multiples of 10 are what decimals were set up for you. So you can multiply by 10s, you can divide by 10s. Makes your math a lot easier. That's it.